A lot of my audience will just know that this is just so important. And I think a lot of people in our industry think that, oh, I've got retention down. Like my clients just stay, but they don't really measure it very well. And frankly, I don't know if it's actually true that retention is always that great. And it's the key to building a successful business is keeping people for the long term.
Getting people is easy. You want to get 20 people in 30 days? Not a problem. I can guarantee it. Can you keep them? That's the art form. Okay. And it's a big deal. And one of the things that I ran into over the years, especially when I started hiring trainers and working with other people, is if anybody would say, I'm really not into sales, I'm not into selling, that's a red flag and they are not a good fit because this is a sales job. Personal training is 100% sales and 100% customer service.
Lauren's still here, and welcome back to High Intensity Business, your one-stop shop for growing your strength training business and fueling your passion for high intensity training. Today's returning guest is Million-Dollar Trainer Pete Cerqua, who I'm super excited to welcome back because we haven't actually done a podcast together for at least a few months. So great to be with you, Pete. I appreciate it.
It's great to be back, Lawrence. We've done about 25 of these.
Yeah, no, and we've done more than that probably. But I mean, it's been a long time is what I mean.
Okay. All right. Well, we're back into it. So we've got stuff to talk about for sure.
Yeah, and I love this topic. I mean, I don't know if anyone gets as excited about retention as me. But hopefully by now, a lot of my audience will just know that this is just so important. And I think a lot of people in our industry think that, oh, I've got retention down. Like my clients just stay, but they don't really measure it very well. And frankly, I don't know if it's actually true that retention is always that great. And it's the key to building a successful business is keeping people for the long term. And we put a little plan together, a little kind of order of things that we can go through today. And I'm just excited to talk to you about this. Before we get into this, I wanted to ask you, when you were running your strength training business, what were the top three ways you were getting customers?
Always word of mouth. Always. I never advertised. I never spent a penny on that stuff. People referred to me constantly.
So that's kind of what I thought. But I never really asked you about retention. Like, how good was your retention? Were you I know you're very much, you like numbers, you're like me, you like measuring stuff. So what was your retention like and kind of how did you measure that?
But I didn't sit down and I did do it. I did spreadsheets constantly. So I would know every month how many sessions I did and income. And so I was always tracking things. I'm a spreadsheet freak. If you think I'm an equipment junkie, which I am, I just love all kinds of machines. I am a spreadsheet freak as well. So I love tracking all my numbers. My personal retention rate was very good. I want to say 90% or better. I had clients. My longest client was about, I think, 28 years. 19,
Wow.
I'll tell you exactly the date, 1988 to 2016. So whatever that is. And she wasn't the only one. I had a group that started with me in 88 that I kept right until I basically retired. So my retention rate was good. My trainers was a little bit different. And I would track their retention rate. And let me tell you something about the whole retention thing in general. So I can get new members for anybody. Getting people is easy. You want to get 20 people in 30 days? Not a problem. I can guarantee it. Can you keep them? That's the art form. Okay. And it's a big deal. And one of the things that I ran into over the years, especially when I started hiring trainers and working with other people, is if anybody would say, I'm really not into sales, I'm not into selling, that's a red flag and they are not a good fit because this is a sales job. Personal training is 100% sales and 100% customer service. And if you're not good at either one of those or both, you're not fit for this business. So the interview process is lengthy and I made a lot of mistakes with that. People put their best foot forward and no, I could do this, I could sell this. And then you find out they really just aren't that great at sales. And the other thing I want to share with everyone is that this is new clients are a relationship and hopefully a long-term relationship. And the breakup is one that you'll never see coming. It always comes in this really, really gentle way. It's not you,
Subtle. Yeah.
it's so subtle. And the trainer never learns from it because they never saw it coming. And like, hey, is so-and-so up for a new block of sessions next week? They said they're going to be traveling and they'd get back to me. I'm like, oh, they just quit. No, they didn't. Yes, they did. And let me tell you, here's all the signs. Did this, and this happen? Yes, it did. You lost. So now we have to sit down and figure out, why did you lose them? And that was probably the hardest thing in my business, was to get somebody else to be good at sales.
Before we, again, I really like our little plan we put together here, because I think it's just going to cover this really well. But again, before we do that, why do you think, you said there that, what if people listening is thinking, I hate sales? Are you just instantly going to say, well, then you're not a good fit for running a strength training business?
No, I used to say that.
Mm-hmm.
And then I learned to question them differently. So I would say, what's something that you're really, really crazy about? I don't care what it is, a chocolate bar,
Lego.
A car, Legos. Okay. Can you sell those? Would you call 10 parents? If I said your assignment is to call 10 parents in your neighborhood and tell them that there's a new Lego set out for kids, and I think you should at least look into it for your child, would you do that? And if the answer, yeah, of course I would, then you are probably pretty good at sales, as long as you're enthusiastic about the product. So I reshaped it over years. And that took me a while to figure out that people will say that as a defense mechanism. I'm not good at sales. I don't want anything to do with sales. What they're really saying is, I'm not good at rejection. I don't like it, and it makes me feel bad. Well, okay. Well, you know what? I don't like rejection either, but it's part of the process. So
I also think it's like, I don't want to sell something I don't believe in. There's a little bit of that, where it's like, I'm always going about this, but I just feel like it's so cool in our space, because like you should feel morally obligated to sell what you do, because it's so beneficial. We're not selling luxury cars here. We don't really need it. This is something that we all need. We all should be strength training like we should be brushing our teeth. And so I think that should help people kind of get over that fear, or one of the things that can help people get over the fear of sales.
It should, and it does. But there's still a percentage of the market of the trainers that just will never be good at it.
Got it.
And that's just plain and simple. But there are people out there that are not good at it that can be good at it. And hopefully we're going to reach some of those today.
Cool. So you wanted to kick off with talking about, like, what is the product? Again, we're talking about retention. Go ahead.
Yeah. You really got to know what your product is. And I ask this question in my coaching quite often. What is your product? In my coaching, I go through a list of questions and see, what is your program and what is your product? Are those two different things, or is that the same thing? They're great questions. And to hear people's answers is sometimes very impressive. And sometimes, oh, wow, you really don't know, like you like equipment and you like your space and you think this is a great idea, but you really don't know where to start. So what is your product? My product was strength training. And I was very, very specific about strength training, not powerlifting, not bodybuilding, not CrossFit, not yoga, not Pilates, not running, it was strength training. And my sale began right there. Strength training will make you better for everything, but the reverse is usually not true. So like, strength training will make you better to pick up your grandchild, but picking up your grandchild won't make you better for strength training. So this is like an essential thing, and the other one's an elective thing. So, and I would put out, depending on the person, hey, strength training is beneficial to your yoga. I had a lot of yoga people came and worked out with me. And instead of alienating them, I welcomed them. And I see a lot of trainers make that, no, yoga won't make you stronger and healthier. Live to be 101 and bench press it. Slow down, man. If it's their passion, you gotta support it. Listen, spend 15 minutes once a week with me, and I think your yoga will be even that much better.
Yeah.
That's
Like,
what you're right. That's one way. Don't alienate people. You know, it's just ridiculous. But I still see it to this day.
yes.
Yes.
One of the things you mentioned is that strength training is tangible. What do you mean by that?
It's yours. You own it. If you are stronger, uh, it's a tangible product. That's yours to keep
Hmm.
as long as you maintain it. Where some of these other activities are not quite as tangible. An event is something that you can complete and be successful at, but it's not a tangible product like your health. And strength training makes you healthier. A stronger body is a healthier body. And that's not a phrase from me. The science is overwhelming now. I like every scientist and researcher out there this is like a no brainer. Like, they don't even want to talk about it anymore. This stuff is so good for you. It's not even funny. And we got papers and research and statistics. Let's talk about something else. That's how good for you it is. They don't even want to talk about it anymore.
You don't have to sell me on that. So, when you say event, do you mean if they're doing like some kind of like boot camp or some other fitness activity where it's not kind of clear what the outcome is? Whereas strength training is tangible because you're focusing on proving strength, and that's a very measurable, clear outcome. Is that kind of what we're saying here?
Yeah, yeah, definitely in a way. There's that race called Tough Mudder. Are you familiar with that one?
I've done one of those. Yeah.
Very famous. It's an awesome thing, and there's a badge of honor there. If you complete that, if you just get through the course, I don't care how long it takes, that's a badge of honor. You did it, and you will own that forever. And that, in a way, is very tangible. But is that going to make you healthier and stronger? And are you going to get the health benefits from completing that? Maybe, maybe not. But the strength training, definitely, no brainer. So strength training will make you better for Tough Mudder. Tough Mudder will not necessarily make you better for strength training.
Cool. So what's next?
Okay. Um, I am selling all the time. Well, you know what? Let me go with this. Let's talk about the workout, because the workout is part of your product and your program. It's got to be good. You know, in the high intensity space, we have many, many variations of how to go about this. Safe, effective protocols. There are so many we can spend an hour and a half just listing them. Let's just say they're all good and they all work. The one that's going to sell the best for you is the one that you're most enthusiastic about. And I can't emphasize that point enough. If you're not enthusiastic about your program, you won't sell it well, and you will not retain your clients. I loved what I did in my training. I loved negative only sets. I was a big believer in negative only. It wasn't my thing that this is the only way to go. No. There's a million ways to go. I like this one. Why do I like this one? Well, for one reason, I'm part of it. So, I think that made a connection with the client, which increased my retention. Pete's not just standing there watching me and counting to 10. He's in the exercise with me. I like that. So like that definitely played a factor in. So are you wild about your program? Are you wild about your product? Do you like your protocol or protocols? Does it show when somebody comes in and says, well, what are we doing today? I got this. We're doing the James Fisher protocol. It's 2 seconds up, 2 second hold, 2 seconds down. Like, this is going to be great. Or it's, yeah, well, we're going to work to failure until you throw up. And then, that's it. And, with like, you've seen this 20 times already this week and you're bored with it. You're not going to retain clients with that.
And just for context for new listeners, Pete's referring to Dr. James Fisher, who is a very popular researcher in resistance exercise. And I think James Fisher was very enamored when you told him that you named him after a protocol. Going back to tangibility, you talk about how the workout chart for the client presents that client new assets they will not want to lose as well, right? So it's another way of not only do you show them how much stronger they are when they lift the weight, when it transfers to their everyday life, but also on paper, which is helpful.
Yes. Yes. And I reviewed that every set, every workout, because my workouts were more like a game. The lowest score wins in my workout. Do as few reps as possible in 90 seconds was one of my protocols, and it was fun. It wasn't a to failure routine. It was a not to failure routine. That aside, when the client sat down on the next machine, I'd say, okay, so here's what you did last time. Let's see if we can beat that today. So you did 8 reps in 90 seconds with 300 pounds. Why don't you see if you can shave 2 reps off and do it in 6? So move a little slower, a lot more controlled. There's some rules with this. You can't stop anywhere and you can't speed up in the hard part and slow down in the easy part. So it's a game, and I'm explaining the rules of the game. People love games.
Mhm.
So they would work harder. If you can get an individual to work harder, they will get a result. Period. End of story. Regardless of the program. That increased retention because every week it was like, there was some, you know what? You got 4 reps in 90 seconds with 300. Let's try 304 pounds. I'll put 2 pounds more on each side of the pneumatics leg press. And you are now better for your golf game this weekend. Things like that. Constantly selling, Lawrence. If you're not constantly selling in a very subtle way, you're not retaining clients.
You talked about, lifting the grandkids as a great kind of outcome or something you can kind of use to sell, right, to a certain demographic. Um, what other ways did you compare their strength increases to everyday activities? I'd love to hear different examples for different types of demographics that you remember from when you were training people.
Well, it all came with the consultation. So my consultations were short and sweet, but they would sit down on the medics, pull down, and hey, let me get to know you. Is there any medical concerns that I need to know about? Right there, that question. I've been having this shoulder problem. I've got a hip thing. I got a brand new knee. Great. I'm making a note of that because if we can strengthen that, you want that, right? Don't you want stronger muscles around that new part? What activities do you do? I love yoga. Great. Writing that down. And my program will make you stronger for boom, 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 and recite it back to them. Just recycle this information.
It's just showing that you listen to them, which it just sounds so basic, but it's something that is so powerful and so few people do, which is you just listen. All you do is basically listen, ask questions, and you just repeat back to them what they said in your own words to show that they were heard. And it's interesting because I have definitely been guilty of not saying this will help X, this will help you with your yoga, this will help you with your Pilates, this will help you with fill in the blank, but saying this will supplant that or it will, which is not what most people want to hear. And I love the approach you took. I think that's what I would do. Let's say I was
means
supporting
something.
it.
There's a lot of little things, a lot of little details that mean a lot to a client. They'll never point them out and they'll never acknowledge them, but they will absorb them. And if you don't do them, they will make note. For instance, I never had a client come in and I've seen this. Somebody hands the new client or a potential new client a chart, fill this out, please. And there's 2 pages of nonsense. I always had paper, pen, workout, something, and I took notes. So any medical concerns that I should know about is there any reason a doctor would say you shouldn't be doing this? Well, I got this shoulder problem. Which shoulder is it? And I'm writing it down. When people see you write, I am working for them. It means something to them. They will stay around longer. Well, I want to work on that with you. That would be great. And you know what? I got these medical exercise machines here. I think they'd be a good fit for you. It's Med-X equipment is what I'm referring to. And it's not about the Med-X equipment. That was just a sales technique. That was a little plug. Well, what is that? What was that plug? That plug said, well, you can't go to your normal gym with their regular barbells and dumbbells and, safely work that damaged shoulder. But this medical exercise machine will do it and with a lot more weight safely. It's just a plug. It's a sales technique, constantly selling.
Just on the medical exercise thing briefly, do you obviously there are people listening to this who don't have medics, they have Nautilus or some other brand, but it's still great equipment. It still has more often than not great resistant curves and low friction, etc. Would you still suggest that they use terms like medical exercise or medical exercise machines, even if they're not using medics?
I
Or
would.
you would? Okay.
I would.
Just curious.
And maybe I would term it differently, but somehow I would say, the safety of my program is just legendary. You cannot get hurt. You cannot get hurt.
Yeah.
I said that in court in front of a judge who challenged me. I said, Judge, put your hands on your desk. Okay. She says, well, I got a bad neck. She's yelling at me, right? This is live on TV and recorded. You can Google it and you can find it. Judge, put your hands on the desk. Okay. I got my hands on the desk. Push down on the desk as hard as you possibly can. Tries it. Okay, good. Did you get hurt? No. That's looks like 1,000-pound desk you got up there, right? Yes. So you tried to move 1,000 pounds and you didn't get hurt. Why? Because we removed all the momentum. My exercise technique is very similar to that. We remove the momentum, which reduces the chance of getting hurt. So
yeah. See if you can get the link of that show again to us, and we'll get Andre to put it in the show notes. Andre,
it was the People's Court.
Yeah,
the People's
it's
Court,
great.
And the judge was lovely and just ruled in my favor immediately. You don't know what you're doing, and it was hysterical.
You handled yourself very well. You're a master in that domain. Let's have an argument. We're gonna have one of those for at least 10 minutes.
Okay.
What? Let's say someone, because the reason I say let's have an argument, because I'm assuming we disagree, but we might not. Let's say someone comes in, they do CrossFit, and they love CrossFit. How are you gonna manage that? Are you gonna do the same thing you would do at Pilates or yoga? This will help your CrossFit.
Yes.
Really?
And I have done it.
Okay.
CrossFitters. Here's the interesting thing. There was one gentleman in particular who was on the younger side, and by younger I say younger than me. He was probably in his mid-30s, and his girlfriend worked out with us. It was his girlfriend at the time, now his wife. And she said, you should come in and check this out. I'm doing CrossFit. So he came in and he showed me before and after pictures of before he started CrossFit, very average looking physique, very average, not overweight, not underweight, just somebody who goes to work every day and doesn't work out. And then after 6 months of CrossFit, jack, shoulders, abs, I'm doing the whole thing. It's low carb and it's, we do this, and this. Great. And he wasn't there because he had an injury or a problem. He was there because his girlfriend said, you should check this out. It's different. And they wanted to see how I was going to handle it. And, is there going to be, well, this is better. It's high intensity and I'm going to work you into the ground. And you're going to be throwing up. No. I said, what I would do for you is, because you're getting an excellent result, my job would be to support that and make sure you can continue to get an excellent result for as long as possible. So our workouts would be more physical therapy in nature. And that's another term I used to throw around quite a bit. And so it wasn't challenging him or his beliefs or his workout or his program. It was supporting it. So if your joints feel good, do you ever feel really, really sore after a CrossFit workout to the point where okay, you're hurting for a couple of days? Yeah. It would be my job to see if I can get you back on track faster. We would have to very carefully schedule this. So we can't have the workouts overlapping.
Do like a once a week, maybe type of frequency.
Once a week with me and 2 other CrossFit workouts.
And 2 questions. Did he convert and did he stay?
He did.
Okay. Well, of course you're going to say that.
Well, you know what he did. And he mostly because I didn't challenge him. And it's so easy to alienate people.
It's almost like if someone feels like, because a lot of people in HIIT want people to kind of understand that CrossFit's going to increase their risk of injury greatly, and they can get all the benefits that CrossFit might provide more safely in strength training, right? But it's better if that's what you believe, it's better if the client figures out on their own, isn't it?
Yeah.
because by doing strength training with you and then feeling those sensations, they're probably they may, I should say, may come to that realization themselves, and they're going to sell themselves on it way better than you can.
I'm a big believer in the soft sell approach.
Hmm.
Put it out there and let them sell themselves on it. Put it out there gently, put it out there respectfully. In the beginning, when I was working with other trainers in a bigger facility before I opened up my own place, I would watch trainers do 1 hour or 90-minute consultations. And oh my God, it was embarrassing. Like, verbal vomit and really, this is the only way. And dealing with objections. I love that one.
Hmm.
Nobody objected to anything yet, but you're going to deal with them up front? Really? Why don't you just get to the workout? If the workout's any good and if your service is any good, they'll sign up.
Let it speak for
Let's just
itself.
do it that way. Yeah.
Right.
You don't
Yeah.
have to talk them into it. That's like a marriage. If you've got to talk your significant other into marrying you, this is why. Let me deal with your objections now. It's not a relationship. You calm them into it.
Yeah.
They're going to, from day one, their plan is an exit plan. They're trying to get out of a relationship. That's true of training. If you talk them into it, you talk them until they're blue in the face and they sign up only just to shut you up. They're planning their exit strategy. It's how do I get out of this now? How do I remove this membership? How do I stop? Oh, I'm traveling. I love you. You're wonderful, but I'm going to be traveling for work for the next 6 months. But it's pathetic. But just don't do it. Don't try to, knock this out of the park with your consultation. You're not going to retain clients that way.
Yeah, that's the thing. We're bringing it back. Obviously, we're talking about consultations and stuff, but it's all relevant to retention because this stuff comes up all the time, right? We get people say, "I'm doing X, Y, and Z. I'm doing Pilates, I'm doing yoga," and it is how you address it. You have to be mindful of these things. Let's move on to product differentiation, right? So you've got here exclusive. Tell me more.
Is your product exclusive? Is it something I can find at the gym for $25 a month? Is your equipment exclusive? Is your training with me and my program? This is my belief. Training with me and my program cannot be achieved anywhere else in the world. That was just the way I presented it, not in an arrogant way. I'm like, I had Med-X equipment, I had a beautiful studio. My studio looked like the anti-gym. It looked more like a doctor's office than a gym. So that would catch people off guard. They'd walk in the door, you should go see Pete. Okay, they make the appointment. They walk in the door and, oh, wow, I was expecting to see a gym, and then they see the way I was dressed, which was usually a dress shirt. I never wore a tie consistently, but definitely always a dress shirt. A warm-up jacket over black slacks, black shoes, a watch that was hidden under my sleeve, but people knew it was there and it was tasteful.
Classic.
Yeah, I try to, I wanted to represent myself well.
Yeah.
The best compliment I got was a woman who said to me, and I wrote this in my book, when she met, "You're Pete Cerqua?" "Yes." "You're the trainer?" "Yes." And looking at me dressed the way I was, she said, "I expected when I met you, you'd be somebody who enters a room doing backflips."
A leotard.
Yeah. Right. Like Jack Lang thing. And, everybody holds up a card at 10.
So the key thing here is the differentiators were built into your service. You never said it. They just knew it. They knew it was exclusive. Is that what we're saying here? Yeah.
They either knew it or I subtly sold it.
Okay.
Little plugs like this is medical exercise equipment. Now, what if you have a piece that's not Med-X? What if you do have a generic piece of equipment? Well, this is like a medical exercise program. What does that mean? That's not even a term, right? If you look that up, nothing comes up. It's something I put out there because this is safe and effective. I believe strength is something that everybody needs. Nobody when they're 90 says, "I wish I was weaker." Everybody wishes they were a little stronger. I want to give that to you now. What can you do with the extra strength? It's like saying, what would you do if I gave you $1 million? Hear how people will answer differently, right? Well, I'll buy this, I'll invest it this way. Same thing with strength. What would you do if you were 50 pounds stronger on every body part? Oh, well, I would get up in the morning and I wouldn't get out of bed and make those ugly noises. Okay, that's one. I would probably golf better and be able to drive the ball 300 yards. Okay, that's another. I like tinkering with cars. I have to get underneath the car. I've got a car hobby. I like to take an engine apart. I'd probably be able to do that better and longer. Okay, it's all good, right?
But again, you're tailoring it back to what they want, their passions, their hobbies, the things that are important to them.
Always make note of that. If you don't know your client, if you don't know about them, they never knew anything about me
Yeah.
because it was never about me. They didn't know what my client didn't. Nobody ever knew what my hobbies were, and I have hobbies. You know, well, Pete, how was your weekend? It was great. Tell me about you. Did you golf? We were working on your swing last week with the rotary torso machine. Did that help? I mean, I would switch it really quick. I never really answered.
Before we go any further, I just want to quickly thank our sponsor, Barvik GmbH. Building a successful strength training business requires top quality exercise machines and a reliable source of spare parts. Sourcing Medix machines, known for their exceptional design and performance, can be challenging, often leaving you dependent on the secondary market. Barvik GmbH, based in Hamburg, Germany, offers a solution. Led by Egger Barvik, who spent over 40 years working with and learning about Nautilus and Medix machines, and also completed a 3.5-year apprenticeship at Mercedes, mastering quality engineering, Barvik produces German-engineered Medix machines in India with thoughtful enhancements over their US counterparts. Barvik machines are trusted by happy customers all over the world, including members of the high-intensity business community. They're even being supplied in large volumes to major fitness brands like Keiser Training. For example, my former business partner and current HIB member Sean purchased Medix equipment from Barvik for his studio here in Galway, Ireland, and both he and his clients couldn't be happier. From popular pieces like the leg press, pullover, and bicep curl to rarer gems like the super forearm and tibialis, Barvik offers a wide selection of 35 Medix models built higher for easy movement of a pallet jack, zinc-plated weight plates, flat steel core belts instead of carbon fiber, and adjustable 90mm rubber feet. And right now, you can get 5% off a minimum order of 6 machines, but only for the next 3 months. This offer expires October 31st, so don't wait. Visit medex.eu, tell the team what you need, and choose the machines to grow your business. That's medex.eu, medx.eu. And now, back to the episode. It is so timely because I just heard recently about a client that left a trainer who just talked about themselves the entire time, which is really what you want to avoid. I am part of the equation. Tell me more about that.
I'm part of I like in my workouts, I'm hands on. And I am part of this equation in that I'm selling me, my service, my equipment, my studio, anything and everything that's involved in this, I'm selling, but especially me. So my customer service is part of that equation. And I always took pride in giving exceptional customer service. I valued it. I learned it very early on. Lawrence, when I graduated high school, I was going to go to Penn State, a good college out here in Pennsylvania. And I got accepted and we went to go get, my father went to go get the student loan for me. And he showed me the amount of money. I was like, well, how long is that for? It's like, well, that's for a semester. I'm like, no, give it back. It freaked me out. We can't do that. We're a middle-class family. He says, no, I'll help you with this. It won't be a problem. I'm like, no, I appreciate that, but I couldn't really wrap my head around the debt. So I said, Dad, I want to open up my own gym. I want to teach people how to actually, this is 1981. I want to teach people how to strength train and exercise, which was a bad idea because it wasn't popular at all. And I'm going to go to Atlantic City and I'm going to become a blackjack dealer because I had a cousin down there doing it. And he was dressed nice and had a nice home. I said, I'm going to do that to save up money for my first gym. It took me 4 years.
And you did that?
I did. I was a
Told me
blackjack
that.
dealer.
Yeah.
And then they very quickly, they put me in the Baccarat pit.
What is that?
Baccarat is a game where blackjack is to 21 without going over. Baccarat is to 9. So you can't 10 or over, and it's like having 0. And there's solid rules, and you can bet on 2 sets of cards. It's like a 50-50. It's heads or tails. I'm going to throw this coin in the air. What do you think it's going to be? Heads? Great. Put your money here. It's that simple of a game, but it's so flashy. It's the game that you usually find James Bond playing in the early movies. They called it chemin de fer in France. In America, it's baccarat. Very classy. Now, in this game, they would take the regular dealers who used to wear a very standard uniform provided by the casino. The baccarat dealers wore tuxedos, and they would buy 6, 7, 8, 9 tuxedos for each dealer. I had a closet full of them because you want to wear a fresh one every day. And then at the end of the week, you'll take 2 or 3 to the laundromat or the dry cleaners, right? Which they also paid for. We'll take care of your dry cleaning bill. We want you to look incredible every time. When clients would walk in the door, now these are people that are about to lose hundreds of thousands of dollars in the 80s. And I would have people bet $50,000 a hand, which in the 80s was ungodly. That was the price of a home every time they put a bet up. We had to learn how to service that client so they came back. How do you work with somebody that's about to lose like an incredible amount of money and get them to say, thank you so much. I had a wonderful time. I'll see you next month. Think about it. If you can develop those skills, you can be a trainer. Those skills were so valuable to me.
We need to do a whole separate podcast on how that's impacted your personal training career like that.
It's huge. It was huge.
That's so fascinating.
It was better education than I could have gotten at college. And I use it to this day.
Yeah. Amazing. I wrote here, I guess you're talking about you being part of the equation. It goes the same for your team, right? If you have trainers, the client has to feel that they're part of the equation. Obviously the whole setup, the machine, the studio, the ambience, but also the trainer. So you've got to be able to pass that customer service, those tenets, those skills down to them so they can, because otherwise because I wrote down, is that scalable? Because I interpreted like it's just you that can do that, but that's not entirely what we're saying here.
No, it's not. And then going back to my earlier point where not everybody can do it and not everybody can be successful at it.
Yeah. And obviously this assumes you have trainers. You might not have them or desire to have them, and that's fine also. We know plenty of people that do well without any trainers whatsoever.
Yes, absolutely.
The next point here, you read, training with me in my program cannot be achieved anywhere else, which we've kind of covered because you kind of said that that's kind of communicated implicitly, although you softly sell it, but it's also experienced. I was thinking about this when you were operating. You had some competitors, some well-known names around you.
Yeah.
Did you still feel that way then?
Oh yeah. 100%.
Because they deliver a great service too. I will not mention names, but they deliver a great service, and from what I understand. So I guess I'm trying to address the fears of those listening that may be surrounded by colleagues that do very similar things. We are seeing a much faster growth in strength training, which is great to see. Strength training, for those that aren't aware, is seriously trending. Like it's really getting more popular in terms of the consumer interest, and lots of businesses, lots of big fitness businesses are trying to rebrand or trying to pivot to look like they do strength training or to do strength training. So what do you say to someone who's listening to this who's like, hey, a load of HIIT studios opening up around me. How do I ensure that I am strongly differentiated and retain my customer?
I would go, we had, off the top of my head, and some names that are famous and friends of mine, Fred Hahn,
Sure.
within a 2-mile circle. So not 20 mile, like a franchise, right? Sometimes a franchise will have a 10-mile radius.
Exactly.
This is less than 2 miles. I can count the number of blocks. Fred Hahn, Lou Abano, at Lou Abano's place, there were a dozen trainers, all high intensity, right? Then Adam Zickerman's facility. Adam Zickerman's facility was so close, I could lean out my window and look right into
Because
his.
you just used to watch him and just copy all his stuff, didn't you? Is what I remember you saying.
That's what I did.
I'm kidding.
That's it. That's what
Respect
I
to you,
did.
Adam. Respect to all the guys you
Uh,
mentioned. Yeah.
but that's how close Adam was to mine. We're both on the same street, right down the block from each other, within a stone's throw. There were 3 other facilities that were smaller and brand, but they had their own places. So what's it? It's like 6 places within a stone's throw, and very often somebody could, hey, I'm working out with so and so, but they told me your program is different. That's how they came in the
Right.
door.
Different, not better. Different.
Different.
Hmm.
It is. What makes it different? And I would explain what was different in a sentence, not in a lecture. Well, mine's a little bit I'll give you my exact words. Mine's a little bit more like a game. We're going to play a game. And if you're good at the game, you get a benefit. So it could be fun. Want to try one? Sure. That's it. I've got it.
Interesting. Right. I'm conscious of time, so let's speed on through. You've talked about this already. If the client isn't getting value, they're going to start to slowly plan their exit, which could be very subtle. This is something we've touched on a couple of times already. How do you tell when they're doing that? And how do you stop it from happening? What do you have to change in that moment? Is it too late?
No, you know what? For some trainers and some trainers who worked for me, yes, it was. And I would be able to see the signs from across the room, and there's nothing I could do about it, because it really comes down to the trainer and the trainer's personality and their ability to sell and communicate. I had people that were technically very proficient and excellent, and that's how I met them. And I'm like, wow, you got some great skills. You're going to be awesome. And I was wrong. You have to be personable. You have to be able to sell. You have to be able to communicate well. You have to be able to give exceptional customer service. And they fell apart in that area. And they didn't last. And it was just plain and simple that way. When I say, is the client getting their money's worth? If a client is looking at their watch or the clock on the wall and says, and you've heard this line, we have 10 minutes left in the session. That means you're not giving them a good service. They're now paying for the time, and they just want every minute, right? I never had a client look at the clock.
Okay, I've never had that comment. What are you saying? No, I actually did get it once. I had what? Yeah, I did. I remember. It wasn't that. It wasn't that comment. It was like he felt rushed, and I was like, I don't want anyone feeling rushed. And
That same thing. They're looking at the watch.
If I had known you before that moment, because I remember thinking a lot about it afterwards, going, where did I go wrong? And that person did end up churning. If I knew you and had learned, all this conversation we've had about how you ran a 30-minute session, that would have never happened. I would have never made them feel that way. But anyway, that's aside. So, okay, sorry, go back to what you're saying. So if they look at the clock, that's
that's a sign.
Yeah.
It's a sign, right?
Yeah.
They're looking.
Where's my value?
Yeah, they paid for time. They didn't pay for a workout or program or for service. They paid for time. So and I'm always using restaurants as an analogy, especially upscale restaurants. But if you go in there and you sit down and the meal comes out pretty quickly, if you were to turn around and say, well, I'm going to stay here for an hour and get my money's worth, regardless of how good the food is, that would be, they're not happy with the service or the food or something. Same thing in the training. If they're looking at their watch and if they're questioning, we have 3 minutes left. Is there something else we can do? If they say something like, man, did you fall short in the workout? I mean, you really dropped the ball. Mm-hmm. And nobody can say that.
Yeah.
My most famous workout was a woman who was a big fan of what I did. She was in her early 50s when I met her. And this was back in the early 90s. And I said, what, I'm going to shake up your routine. I usually start with a leg movement or a low back and leg movement, work lower to upper. And I said, do you know what, today? I wanted to do a Dr. Darden chin up because she was getting pretty strong and she was in good shape. I said, I want you to I'm going to help you. I'm going to spot you. We're going to do a 90-second chin. And I described, you basically recited Dr. Darden's words. Here's how it's going to work. Okay, got it. Well, it was so intense. It's 45 seconds up and 45 seconds down with a stop and hold technique and me helping. And of course, she did all the negative, but I'm spotting and I'm part of the exercise. And I was talking the whole time. And this was it. This was in a gym setting. And at the end, she let go, stood up. I'm like, are you okay? She says, I don't feel right. I got to sit down. No problem. So we sat down right there on the floor and I just knelt and I'm like, is the room closing in? She said, a little bit. I said, okay, I'm going to stay with you for a few minutes, but then I'm going to get you a juice box. Moral of the story is workout was over with 1 rep and 1 exercise. She did not turn around and say, well, we have 14 minutes left and 6 other exercises we're supposed to be. She didn't feel cheated. She's like, man, you got me with 1 rep today. She was bragging about it. She would tell so many people, but I got referrals from it. There's a big difference there. Did you get referrals because you did a 1 rep workout? Or did you get trashed? He cheated me. I gave him $75. It was 1 rep and we were done. There's 2 ways that can go, right?
Mm-hmm.
And
Fascinating.
I've seen it go the wrong way.
So that's really interesting. Thank you for that. I love this next bit. We're talking about fees here, pricing and the expectation associated with that price point. Do you want to just go through starting with $25 per session?
Well, for $25 a session, and these are, I mean, give or take $10 here, right? But for $25 a session, you don't need to do much, right? And it's like, is your pricing matching your service and vice versa? For $25 a session, let's say it was $25 an hour. Okay, an hour session at a gym. Really don't need to be that good. The workout doesn't need to be good. It's a reasonable price. It's supervision and setting up machines, as scientifically shown, research shows that just being present will yield a result. And it's true. And I've seen it. People will work a little bit. If you just stand there and count the reps for them and put the plates on the machine, they will get a response. And what's that worth? $25. I think that's a reasonable price. $25 an hour. And you'll load my weights for me and you'll stand there and you'll smile and give me a little pat on the back. Okay. So that's the level of service and that's the pricing. For $75 for a 30-minute session, that's a little different. That's a number. That's a real number. And not even an hour, 30 minutes, a different level of service and a different facility is required. So now you can't do this in a public gym. It would be difficult. It is being done.
It is being done.
It is being
harder,
done.
Yeah.
And it makes it more difficult, but those are exceptional people. Those are really good people that have their A game. The average person cannot do that. Okay. So
we're thinking of you, Cara, thinking of you, Julio. Who else are we thinking of? Who else?
We're thinking of Jeremy. Jeremy is.
Oh yeah, Jeremy, of course. Yeah.
He's an exceptional trainer. He's got a gift. He's got a look, right?
Yeah.
He can do it anyway.
The Aquaman.
Yeah. So, that's very specific. So now at this price point, $75 for 30 minutes, there needs to be a better facility, better equipment, a better level of customer service.
Yeah.
Can I do it in a gym or in home equipment? Yeah, I can. But you know what's going to wear on me long-term is if I'm not really into it, because I'm like a machine freak. So like if I'm not really into this equipment, at some point it'll carry over to the client and they'll feel that.
Interesting.
So I can do it short-term, but long-term it's not going to work. I got to be into it. So I got this great machine. You're going to love this machine. Oh my God, it's going to be so, I've been dying to use it myself. I'm putting you on it today. I got that client for the next 10 years. Yeah. Just from that one set and the new machine and the enthusiasm, but it's got to be a different level of service. You really have to be into it more than anything. And then
just before you get to the next price range, just wanted to, I'm just aware of the inside jokes. For those who are curious, who are all those names you just mentioned? Those are people in high intensity business, a private community who are having tons of success growing their strength training business in a big box environment. Although some are kind of in the transition phase where they're moving to studios. I think most want to have their own space eventually for kind of the reasons we're talking about here. And obviously, if you're interested in getting help starting and growing your strength training business, come join us. School.com/HIB, school with a K, .com/HIB stands for high intensity business. And you also get a Q&A with this man every month as well, which is extremely valuable. So Pete, back to you, sorry, on we're now talking about the higher price point, the higher price range.
So ultimately, my ultimate rate for me personally was $125 for 15-minute session. I got to 15-minute sessions. I'll say quickly, probably took me 10 years, but but I got to 15-minute sessions and I was booking 3 per hour. I would never book 4 per hour. But at that price point, I mean, the moon and the stars need to be lined up perfectly. Your customer service, your dress, your organization, your workout charts, the equipment, the studio, the lighting, the walls, the music that I played in the background was classical music. I got a million reasons for that. I mean, my level of service had to be here if they're paying this. And you know, that was it. That's what you have to deliver. So you really have to match your price point and your service, and the client should never ever feel like they're not getting their money's worth. And that's the key there. That's the key to retention. If they're questioning it at all, then they're slowly planning their exit, and you'll get the "I'm traveling on business next week" line.
Right. And also, most people probably listening to this can get access to the type of people who can afford obviously $75 a session, that type of price range. Do you think that it's more limited at the $125 mark? Let's assume you have all the criteria. There's other things here we didn't speak about as well. Like it might help to be a best-selling author and be essentially a celebrity, right? That helps. Do you think that, okay, assuming that people have those things, which most people don't, but assuming they do, the demographic might also be an issue too in terms of affordability at that price point? Or do you think actually that you could make that work in a lot of places? What do you think?
I think more people can make it work even in a big box gym. There are trainers out there, and we've met them, you and I, and we know them and we love them. They have a gift, and they could be selling anything. They could be selling snow to a snowman, and you'll buy it just because they're great people, and you really just want to be in their space and be with them. So there's that type of person that can really, you know, transcend all different kind of price points and probably are not charging enough. And we've actually had that discussion. Hey, you really need to up your rate. You're worth more. You don't know it. And then there's other people that aren't worth the $25 an hour. You know, you really like, you know, the only reason the client's staying is because, well, it's really cheap and, you know,
It's local.
And it's convenient for me.
Yeah.
And if those are the reasons, well, that trainer is, you know, really not going to make more than $500 a week forever. You really should look into other work. So, yeah.
Well said. And shall we go into, we've already addressed a lot of this actually, haven't we? Oh, so we've got objections here or things that you want to, maybe this is tangential to retention really, but the cardio question, shouldn't I be doing cardio? Can I go to the gym a few weeks in addition to you? How did you address the cardio question?
I always encourage, my opening line is, and it's been written, movement in general is a good thing. So the worst thing you can do for your body is what we're doing right now. We're sitting in a chair and we're talking. This is the most unhealthy thing you can do on the planet.
We've both got to get a treadmill, haven't we? Or maybe we'll get some headsets and like I'll go walk in the forest.
Some pedals while we're talking. So this is the most unhealthy thing you can do. Movement in general is necessary for longevity. Got to get up, got to move. So if you have the ambition to add cardio, I think that's great. Let me get involved and work on a schedule with you because I'd like to ensure that your recovery is on point. If you're working out twice a week with me, let's do the cardio on a third day so we could do it every other day, and then we'll squeeze one more session in. Or is it daily walking to get steps in? Or what if you're a marathon runner? Well, then you can't work out more than once a week with me because your marathon running is really going to cut into your recovery. But let me support it and make you better for it. So
build around it.
that was my attitude. I always support it. I was in New York City, as many of you know, we're famous for the New York City Marathon, which used to run right by my apartment. They closed the streets off. And how many New Yorkers would come to me and say, "Hey, I'm training for the marathon this year. It's from my bucket list thing. I want to do it." And if I was well, strength training is everything and marathon running is stupid. Yeah, my business probably isn't going to do that well. And honestly, I didn't believe that. I'm like, "Oh, that's cool. Really? Okay. Are you healthy enough?" You're like, well, I would take it seriously. I would lose sleep. Okay, we got to get you in shape for this. So tell me about your running program. And by the way, are you buying new sneakers every 3 months? Because they don't last long.
3 months,
Oh, 3 months.
What expensive hobby.
It is expensive. If
Is
you're doing
Luke,
it right.
is Luke Carlson buying new trainers every 3 months?
I asked him about his sneakers when I met him. He has a very high end shoe that I never heard of.
Okay.
I don't know how often he's recycling them, but if he's I know he's a really serious runner. Very serious runners typically write the date they purchased the sneaker on their heel.
Oh, wow.
And so they know, and put it in their phone when that shoe is up. I don't remember if Luke does that or not, but we did chat about it.
Cool.
So
again, new listeners, we're referring to Luke Carlson, who owns Discover Strength, for a successful strength training business and a regular guest on this podcast, who's also very into marathons. Pete, thank you so much. I mean, there's more we could touch on. Retention is vast, but we've touched on some really important stuff, which hopefully help those to help the listeners retain their customers better and understand some of the key things that go into that. Anything else that you want to share? Parting thoughts, or maybe a main principle that you want people to take away?
Two things. You focus on two things because we covered a lot of stuff and your eyes may be glazed over. Enthusiasm for your own program, number one. And number two, delivering exceptional customer service. Those two things alone, regardless of equipment, space, private gym, public gym, regardless of all those things, will help you retain clients and you'll be able to keep them for years. Just be enthusiastic about it.
Well said. And if anyone's interested, obviously Pete's been a guest on this show a lot, and we'll also link up a whole episode on customer service that Pete did. I was like, what's customer service, Pete? And obviously he's touched on that quite a bit today and gave examples, but if you want to listen to a whole podcast on all of the elements that make great customer service, then we'll link that up in the show notes over at highintensitybusiness.com. And if you would like Pete, well, firstly, Pete, thank you so much. Obviously being on the show again. If you would like to work with Pete, please apply at million-dollar-trainercoach.com. And if you would like to join the new Resistance Exercise Professionals see what we did there, group on Facebook, I'll put the link in the description below this video, and I'll put it in the show notes as well over at highintensitybusiness.com. And do you want to just briefly say what's talked about in that group and why people should join, Pete?
I'm trying to make it fun. Some of the groups for high intensity trainers are very serious and they're great. And some of them are focused on very specific things and they're also great. I'm trying to just be a little bit more broad spectrum and have a little bit more fun with it. I am an equipment junkie, so you're going to see a lot of equipment posts in there. But I also want people to share their studio spaces and do video posts of their studios, which people are now doing. And I enjoy seeing them. So I'm a fan of all of this, is what it comes down to. I like studios. I like seeing new spaces. I like seeing different machines. I'm a fan of all of it, different training styles. So I thought I'd put a group together that encompasses all of that and we could just share the information. And so far it's been fun.
Yeah, you do great work, Pete. I appreciate it. I'm not currently on Facebook, but as you know, I will be hopefully rejoining soon and participating. I think you provide so much value, whether it's producing content on my show, the contributions you make to the community, and now creating this group. Like, it's very appreciated, I know, by so many people in our space. So again, if you want to work with Pete, million-dollar-trainercoach.com. If you want to join the Facebook group, it's called Resistance Exercise Professionals /Rep. And you can find that group on Facebook. And also there'll be a link in the YouTube description and on the show notes at highintensitybusiness.com. Thank you again, Pete. And for everyone listening, this is Lawrence with High Intensity Business, and looking forward to talking to you again very soon.